Hello ladies and gentlemen! I think we can all agree that Minecraft is a partly very unrealistic game. From floating blocks to infinite electricity, there are just a ton of features that wouldn't work in real life. For today's video I want to explore a few possibilities of making the game more realistic and show you a data pack that visualizes these ideas. Before we begin, I would like to mention that these are in no way feature suggestions, but just random concepts I was playing around with. Some of the mechanics I made, I wouldn't even want to be in Minecraft, so don't take this video too seriously. Something that always confused me about Minecraft is the fact that players don't have to drink in order to survive. Since staying hydrated is even more important than eating, you would assume that Minecraft has a thirst instead of a hunger meter, or at least both. Even though it would logically make sense to prioritize drinking, I can honestly see why there is still no thirst meter in the game. Gathering water in Minecraft would be a really repetitive and boring task, especially since there is no difference between salt and fresh water. Food, on the other hand, is much more interesting to obtain. There are lots of plants and fruit that you can harvest, and many animals that provide you with meat. Even after gathering resources, you can cook or craft different meals. You could argue that it would be possible to make different kinds of drinks, but I do feel like that there is a larger variety of meals, and food consumption in general is much more interesting, I think. In a realistic Minecraft version, however, a thirst bar should definitely exist. In the data pack I made, there's a prototype of what it could look like. Above your normal hunger meter, there's now a second display indicating how hydrated you are. Since drinking is more important in real life, it empties a bit faster than the hunger meter. Once you go below 2 droplets, you get nausea, and upon reaching 0, you basically just die. In my prototype, there are 2 possibilities of filling up your thirst meter again. Option number 1 is using water bottles, which give you back 3 droplets. This obviously would need to be implemented differently, because water bottles don't stack and you can't carry around thousands of them at all times. The second way is by just putting your head underwater, which gradually refills your thirst bar. It's questionable how healthy that really is, especially in the ocean, but we'll ignore that for now. I think we can all agree that hands are quite the amazing body part. In real life, there's almost an unlimited amount of tasks they allow you to do. In Minecraft, not so much. If the game was realistic, hands should be much more complex, and maybe even consist of individual fingers instead of a simple stump. One thing I wish advanced hands could do is move blocks, because misplacing blocks in normal Minecraft can be a huge pain. First you have to switch to a tool, provided that you have one on you and the block breaks too slowly with your normal hands. Then you have to break it, pick up the item, hope your hotbars not fill up completely, select the item and then place it again. To make this process much quicker, I prototyped an advanced hand tool. If you select it, the block in front of you gets highlighted. As long as air is selected, the marked block will be red. If, however, you look at a solid block instead, the highlight will turn green, and you can hold down right click to pick up the block. Letting go will place the block again wherever you're currently looking at. The system even checks if the block destination is valid. So if you're trying to place it inside another block, the highlight will turn red and the block will remain in your hand. There are a number of situations where a tool like this would be really useful, and I even think that it's pretty balanced. On the one hand, wink wink, it removes the long process of mining blocks even for things like obsidian. The downside is that you can only pick up one block at a time and that you can't use your hand for anything else. The aspect I love most about this mechanic is how easily you can bridge over cliffs with just 2 blocks. In normal Minecraft, you either leave a long floating block trail or lose a lot of items. With my advanced hand, you can easily take one of the blocks and move it somewhere else. This brings us straight to the next topic, because floating blocks would be an absolute no-no in a realistic Minecraft version. Aside from an adapted terrain generation, I think it'd be cool if trees fell down if one of the bottom blocks was removed. Since falling to the side would feel really off and wouldn't always work with the available space, I think having it behave like sand would make the most sense. With somewhat realistic physics, building houses would be a much bigger challenge too. Just imagine every block in the game used scaffolding block behavior. You would need to plan large builds much more carefully, and I think building as a whole would become a super interesting and fun challenge. Another thing that has always bothered me in Minecraft is that players can simply swim up falling water. Just imagine standing at the bottom of a waterfall in real life. You just physically cannot swim up there. Minecraft completely ignores this though and allows you to do just that. To make the game a bit more realistic, I created a mechanic which prevents you from swimming up waterfalls. It's a really tiny restriction, but it forces you to play the game a bit differently. If you're trying to climb a mountain, for example, you can't just look for a water source on top, but you have to rely on other tools to reach your destination. When pillaring straight up into the sky, you used to be able to just place water on top to get back up if you forgot something. With my datapack installed, this also does not work anymore. Water in general has some very unrealistic properties. Humanity would greatly benefit from infinite water sources, but unfortunately that's not how it works. If Minecraft was 100% realistic, the water levels should gradually increase and decrease. That would be pretty overkill though, and not fit the game at all. There is a small change though that I think would work. Whenever you use a water bucket, the source block you placed could be removed after a couple of seconds. That way you could not create floating or infinite water sources anymore. Since this would introduce a number of other problems though, realistic water would require a complete revamp, which I simply can't do with functions. Another aspect I would like to touch on is redstone. The circuitry components themselves are a bit oversized, but regarding their functionality, I don't see a huge problem here. What I do have a problem with is that there is basically infinite energy. If we see redstone blocks as some sort of radioactive material that just radiates energy or something, I can kinda see how it would infinitely power a redstone line. Same thing goes for redstone torches. But where it gets really weird is levers or other input variants. You move a stick inside of some random stones and suddenly cables around it get powered until eternity. That's just not how any of that works in real life. What I would absolutely love to see in the game is energy as a resource. There could be different kinds of craftable power plants that you could use to charge up batteries, which could be used to transport small amounts of energy. These would act similar to redstone blocks and could be used for a number of different small machines. Levers should no longer produce energy, but simply block or let through a redstone signal. For bigger amounts of energy, to power large buildings or entire cities for example, players would need to build power lines. This would probably introduce the need for even more or bigger power plants though. It could even be used to teach kids about the importance of renewable and clean energy. Building a coal plant could negatively impact the environment around it and use up a lot of limited resources. Nuclear power plants could have a small chance of exploding randomly and making the immediate surroundings unlivable. I'm probably going way too deep here, but I just think it's fun to think about how many gameplay aspects realistic electricity would introduce to the game. Let me know what you guys think. Once again, these were not 100% serious feature suggestions, but just speculations of how aspects from real life could impact the game. All in all, I'm really happy with the current state of Minecraft, and realism in video games is often not even a desirable trait. Just take this video as an inspiration, and maybe you can also come up with even more similar ideas. I'm very curious about all your comments. And that's gonna do it for today's video. I really hope you enjoyed. If you did, a like would absolutely make my day. Thanks for watching everyone, and I'll see you all next time.